Hey everybody, I'm Cinnamon Cooney, your art Sherpa, and today I'd love to show you how you can take this space cat and do it as an acrylic painting step by step. I'm explaining every step of the process. We have a traceable. I'm planning a limited palette, so it shouldn't be too many colors because I know a lot of you are doing these for a loved one in your life, which is why I made a point of getting it back on the schedule before the holidays because I definitely did hear you. On the mic is my husband, John.
Hi guys.
He's been wrangling the stream to get us on. We live in a very historic part of Texas, and so even though we have a lot of extra cable, that doesn't actually seem to be relevant to our ability to connect to anything. It's really interesting. You live in a historic area, you get some unique challenges.
We have temperamental lines.
Yeah, they need to be something called hardened or whatever. I
Yeah.
don't really understand what any of those words mean,
It,
to be
it,
really honest. Mostly
it,
because I didn't Google it.
yeah, it's very frustrating.
It's intentional ignorance, so don't feel bad for me. All right, let's look at this is the image we're going to be doing. I'm going to put this aside for reference. This is the traceable I'm going to be using today to get this on here. You can find yours on the website. I'll put that aside. Everything in this project is going to be listed in the description below. I have an 11 by 14 canvas panel here by Artist Loft, and on it we do have some wishes that our community gives us. If you're brand new here, our community sends wishes and we put out intentions and stuff from things that we're even seeing in our life. So Linda Young is looking for a clear mind. Lisa is with a lot of wishes about kidneys right now. Lisa is wishing for healthy kidneys, and then Justin is wishing for a cure for kidney disease, which I agree with. And then Tina Marie is just wishing to be clear of current challenges that are going on and a good outcome. And then based on something John and I saw today on the DeFranco show, I would just like to say that I'd like to see an end to domestic violence. And for all people, gender, age, regardless, to be safe in their homes. I think our homes should be safe spaces, and I think we have a right to be safe in our own caves, so to speak, and especially from the loved ones that we have in our life. So I wish that for everybody, regardless of gender or age. And so those are the wishes going out into the universe today. I have put out my black paint. I have some fluid paint right here. You can use craft paint. This is whole by titanium white. It's just really pigmented, but you could use a craft bottle paint. It would be a good exchange. I have yellow ochre, phthalo blue, alizarin crimson, cad red light, burnt sienna, titanium white, and cad yellow medium. I probably am going to be using some glazing liquid by Golden. Not all glazing liquids are the same. This is the one product I'm talking about. It's Golden's acrylic glazing liquid, and you can. This one happens to be satin, but you can get it in gloss too. I actually think gloss glides better, but it helps with blending, and it slows down drying time, and it allows you to glaze. Most products just do one of those things. So this is the only one I know that does this the way I look for it to do. So not sponsored. I'm just telling you what my thinking is here because you guys will ask me, is it important to have that one product? And I'll be like, sometimes I'll be like, no, it doesn't matter at all. And sometimes I'm like, yeah, no, that's the only one. And that's right now for me, the only one I know of that I'm confident in that does that. If I find another one though, I will absolutely tell you.
I was noticing picture-in-picture cat was rather large, so I'm going to shrink picture-in-picture.
Picture-in-picture cat needs to get small. The first thing that we're going to do, I'm going to take my biggest brush. This is my number 30 Art Sherpa. I really never have more than one of these in because whenever we get them in, they all sell. So I'm like down to my one. But I love it because you want to use a nice big brush. Using a big brush to paint a large field like this is just one way that you can make your painting experience easier. Because if you use a really small brush, you're going to work twice as hard to get the canvas covered, right? And you can see it does a nice job of bossing that paint around. And I like that in my acrylic brushes. I like them to be bossy. I am dipping the brush in water, and if you're noticing, I'm flipping. So that you can kind of see the moisture there. You can see how it's wicking up into it and how that double loading allows me to go a little bit further with my paint. If you're struggling with that, it can be your canvas. Your canvas could be thirsty. Some of these canvases are just super thirsty.
What causes that?
It's the coating. When they're super thirsty, the coating that's on there is probably not a proper gesso. I mean, it is a gesso, but it's not what we would look for in a gesso, so it's overtly thirsty. Sometimes there's a weird plasticky sealant on there that I don't really know why it's there. But what you're going to be looking for is if you're painting a canvas and it feels like it's fighting you for its little canvas life, probably that's a coating issue. If your brush is going over the canvas and it's just real dry and it doesn't seem like the paint is going very far, that's probably a fluidity issue or your brush is too soft. But it's hard to totally say any of those things just because I would have to see each person. I'm cleaning this off and putting this to the side, laying it flat because we don't want to leave our brushes in water. And I'm going to go ahead and dry this with my hairdryer. And I'm going to see how matte it is or how streaky it is, because you're going to want the black background to be a very lush, matte black finish.
Yeah. So while she's doing that, move the camera a little too fast. What we're going to zoom in here and show you is that as she dries that, you'll see that it changes from a gloss to a matte finish. And part of that is just how the paint actually dries. But to that end, don't use heat, because heat can induce color shift and all sorts of problems in especially student paints, and blacks are especially susceptible to this. So try not to use heat, use just air. Looks like Cinnamon may have just blown some stuff over there. But don't use heat, use just air when you're doing that, and that'll help keep your surface nice.
Nice. Oh, and I gotta come down here and get my...
We saw something go down.
Yeah, my reference.
Reference blew down.
This is my picture-in-picture. Super technical.
We're gonna have to upgrade that soon.
Yeah, I'm gonna need another monitor or something that I can look at. You guys, I have a monitor up there, but I can't really look at it while I'm painting. It just sort of lets me know where we're at and if I see anything. So you can see that this is a pretty good matte black finish. It got a little streaky down here. I'm not too worried about it because the cat's gonna be over that. But up here where I'm very concerned, it looks pretty darn good. Now, there's a distant and light field of stars on this image. So my next step to get that in, because I don't want to make it look like it's snowing on the cat in space, would be to add the stars now. If you get the dots all over the cat, at the end, it's going to look like it's snowing. So I'm going to take my fluid white paint. And actually, I forgot to unplug these. I'm not good about closing my caps up. Not good at all. And I'm going to use a splattering tool. I have a whole video about different ways to splatter. There's a lot of ways to get splatter on there. You just want to use one that you're comfortable with. Now, here's your big splattering tip, though. If you haven't done it before or you're having trouble with it, the trick is to do it on a scratch piece of paper with color so you can see if the particles are how you want them to be. You don't want to just find out on your canvas and get those weird stringy bits, right? So when I get this is my splattering brush for my Galaxy set. And so I'm going to work the paint into that. And I'm going to just very lightly pull this back. And that's going to give me these small, perfect little stars. That's why I actually went to the trouble of designing a brush because for splatters, because it's really hard to consistently get exactly what you want. And you can see that's pretty close to what we have out there in our little space field. So they're small. They're distant. We don't have anything that's too big or up close. If you had any you didn't like, you could just go back with the black paint and paint it out. Let's try those again.
So, yeah. How you guys doing? It's very nice to see you guys. I'm just I didn't expect her to just drop and leave me there. So I was actually very attentively watching her make the little splatters and thinking, ooh, wow, that was kind of neat. Maybe next time I'll switch cameras and zoom in on that a little bit more. And then she was like, and now I'm going to leave you guys with John. So, bye. And I was kind of like, right. So, how you doing? That's kind of how we got to here. And nice to see you guys, honestly. Oh, and look, she's back just when I find out what to say.
My traceable got attacked.
Did it?
Yeah, you can see it did. Totally attacked. I'll tape that down and tape it in a couple places. So what you can see here is that my image that I'm transferring on got a little bit of water on it. And so it dripped. So if you were like, is that a print? What is that? No, that's what I draw those before and then I get pictures of those. And that's how you get your traceables. Or my daughter helps me and does some digital art of my mad machinations. So I'm going to just dab that off. So to do this, what you see here is transfer paper. This is called Cerro paper. You want to put it the bright yellow down. There's a link to this product in the description below. I actually really, really like it. Works very well with acrylic paint, and not many transfer papers do. If you don't have that, you can just take kids' chalk and rub it all on the back of your printout. Or you can just freehand, which is also perfectly acceptable. But sometimes, you know, we get into painting before we get into drawing.
And that's okay.
And that's super okay. I'm going to just press this down and...
Being a good drawer was only required if you're going to hold clothes.
Drawer. And there's some great drawing tutorials out there, and I think we're going to start doing some more drawing tutorials as we move into 2019. Talk some different methods of getting stuff, you know, figured out. How do I get this image on and those basic shapes into the canvas so I can get all my values in there? So you just see me going over these lines firmly and pressing in.
Why?
One of the things I like about the Cerro paper, this particular brand, this particular make, is that it's removable with a damp, clean brush, like chalk. So that's always a good thing. Yeah. A lot of this I'll really reaffirm with my brush as I do it, but it's good to get the basic placements in. One of the things you'll figure out on these paintings as you're doing them more and more is that these first little drawings are often gone in about a minute of painting.
Yeah.
And all you have is some basic form. So don't ever let anyone give you shade about if your first pass of getting this image onto your canvas is doing a transfer method or a tracing method. One, that is a fine art method. It's been used, well, gosh, since art. And different methods of transfer and projection and placement and cartooning have been used a really long time. So that's an art method that people do use.
Oh.
And two, it just gets so changed by the time that you paint it in. It's like you didn't even put it in sometimes.
There was a hugely popular animation style during the 60s that Disney used in many 50s and 60s that Disney used that basically involved tracing people over from movie stills to create animation sequence.
Yeah, it was the only way to get the work done. But again, they still had to paint it all in. They still had to work it all in. It just saved them some time.
Yeah, didn't make the final work any less legitimate.
Yeah.
It was just, they had to use tracing as a tool to get the job done.
What often happens when you're out there in the world, people ask you about your construction process. And if you ever say, well, you know, I traced on, because they'll be like, well, did you freehand it? As if that's the mark of art.
Right.
And it's like, well, you know, it's just, there's a lot of art processes to make that the pinnacle mark of art.
Ooh, that's actually kind of cool.
It's kind of cool on its own, right?
It's Space Ghost Cat.
Space Cat. And I didn't even get all the lines in here, but that's okay because I'm pretty confident about getting them in just in general. So it doesn't really stress me out. I just need to know where stuff be. That's like really what it is. And then that way I can be like, okay, well, this is light here and this is dark here and this is where the face is. And I think I'm going to start in this outer area and get some of this stuff blocked in and then move in. Like I just got paint all over my fingers. That was fun. Hard to get out too. That's the issue with these canvas boards is like it gets paint tucked around the side. I'm going to put out some of my phthalo blue. Hopefully my phthalo blue and black will work. You might think about using something like Prussian, but hopefully the phthalo blue and black will work. And I've got white here. And I could possibly, potentially warm it with a little bit of yellow at some point, but it's unlikely. But I'm going to put it out here just in case I'm needing it, right? You got to get it out there just in case you need it. I'm going to grab me a number 8 cat's tongue. Oh, and I want to put out regular white, heavy-bodied white paint because, you know, fluid is all fluidy. It doesn't really dry brush all that well. So if I want to do dry brushing, that's not going to be my favorite. So one of the things that I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of my blue over to my black. And this adds this kind of bias into this color, which also is going to give it a real spacey space effect. And I'm going to add a bit of white to it. And I will go ahead and paint in the side over here. So what you're going to see me doing at first is just getting some of my rough values in. And then once the rough values are in, that's how light or dark something is, I'll start putting in more details. And it's about in the last third of the painting, yours as well as mine, that it's going to start to come together. If you need to have a little more blue in there, look, you can just easily get a little more blue cast in there.
Lori was asking, what's the difference between using all heavy body or all soft body paint?
Soft body is self-leveling and will not hold a brush stroke. It doesn't dry brush easily, but it blends beautifully.
We have several videos on our website that you can go and click on search and
Technique
type in.
Tuesday, search those up.
Oh yeah, there's quite a few of those.
Yeah, I love those Technique Tuesdays. I get that in, and it looks like I've got a little friend over there that's about the same. So I'm going to just make sure I get that in as well. And again, what we're doing is we're just blocking it in. The fun part's going to be to paint the cat's face. Just saying. That'll be the good part. You know, I can come in with a little blue and black and say, all right, this is a little more in shadow. As you can see, it is here. And right here, if I want, I can soften this shadow by wiggling my brush. See, I'm blending these together.
Oh yeah. Oh.
Pretty easy to do. I'm going to wipe off and just do that again. And that'll soften that edge a little bit so it's a little bit blended. Do a similar thing here. A little blue, a little black. I will come in here. And I may just hit that. Some of this is really only going to be viewable via the highlight.
Oh, right.
Yeah. I'm going to just bring this dark value up here as it is. And then right here, I'm going to go up and down, kind of softening that transition. See how easy that is?
Oh, yeah.
You don't want to go back and forth. You want to lightly soften this way. So just nice little value shift. I'm going to come a little more blue, a little more black. And let's get in here. There's definitely some highlights coming up here, but I just want to make sure that I'm catching a lot of my shadows. I'm going to come to the outside edge. Outside edge. Work it over here. Oh, yeah. Grab my little blue black. And we're going to work in all this space right over here. I kind of painted over that little helmet thing because I wasn't watching.
Now, you can really see the lines by your brushstroke direction.
Yes.
And that's
that also helps me like keep track of things. You know, it's just trying to see those little value shifts. And come under here.
Do you have a preference on the white versus yellow transfer paper?
I like the white and the yellow. The issue with the white is that it doesn't work on white. Whereas yellow will work on everything but yellow, and it's much rarer that you would have an all, I'm going to get a little bit of white into that mix. You can see here. It's very rare that you would have just an all yellow painting. Very uncommon. And sometimes you'll find that you don't want any yellow anything in your painting, and so I'm going to just brush that back softly. Make sure that that's there.
Isn't it very easy to remove the
chalk?
Oh,
super easy. And that's one of the reasons why I also like this piece quite, like this particular transfer paper quite a lot. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to come in and I'm going to get my blue and my black together, but no white. And I'm going to come right here. And it's weird how the blue will make this seem blacker than black. But you can see it's over black and it seems blacker than black.
Oh, it does for sure.
That's just a little bit of color theory that happens when we're painting. I'm going to definitely round my strokes, and you can see they're curving around. I won't take this too far into his face just because we got to come and put his little fur back and blend that back. So he'll have a different little value set coming along. I'm going to rinse out. Now on this, I've got the blue with just a smidge of black. See, that's just a little bit of black. I'm going to wipe that off because everything else I'm going to need a much lighter color. I'm getting a lighter value. Let's come in and do all of this in this lighter value. I'm not doing white yet. And the reason being is that that's my last highlight, and that's where I'm going to get all the shape of the spacesuit and a lot of the details going, or with the deepest shadow.
Yeah. Can you talk about, sorry.
Yes, I can. I can do anything. What do you want?
Can you explain the difference between value and tone?
Yes. So value is really interesting. Value is how light or dark something is. The tone of it, right, is like, so you got value, tone, and shade. And basically, when you're toning something, you're adding white, and when you're shading it, you're adding black. Unless I got that reversed in my head again.
I think that sounds right. Darker is black, shade is blacking,
Yeah.
and white
And
is
we're just
lightening.
talking about that. Also, the shade of something can be close to what we refer to as the hue, because we could be saying it's phthalo blue shade, right? You might hear that in art terms sometimes. So that's why it can get confusing. It's just in how artists dialogue about color.
So sometimes when you say I'm toning it, you're referring to its value.
Mm-hmm.
But
I'm lightening it.
You could also say that I'm shading it, and that could be referring to its value.
Yes.
But
that's how I get
you
there.
could be saying that it's a blue shade, but that refers to its value. No, it's hue. Hue, is that right?
What I would get, I would say definitely Technique Tuesday.
Okay, Technique Tuesday.
Because we get into that, because it gets to be kind of a mind boggle.
It is. There's some Technique Tuesday to be done there.
There's some Technique Tuesday to be done. And that's why that's there, is because those terms can become confusing. But basically, if I'm adding black, I'm shading it. And if I'm adding white, I'm toning it.
Gotcha.
And if I was ever wrong, I'm sure the entire internet would let me know.
That sounded all correct to me. I may have been guessing wrong. What brush are you using
I'm still just on that number 8's cat's tongue. You could use a Filbert, you could use a bright. It's whatever brush you have that lets you paint in this area without feeling challenged, right? So like this, I have an easy time getting a crisp edge when I want it. I have an easy time controlling the brush and where the paint goes. So I really find that to be a very good tool for that. I'll go ahead and kind of put this in here. And again, I'll probably be switching to a bright because there's a lot of very sharp angles. But I just wanted to get some stuff painted in loosely so I could talk about it easily. And when I say talk about it, how we talk about things as artists is we paint. So you talk about your art just as much as I talk about my art through art. I'll just bring that down here. So I'm just catching this basic space. Might come right there. There's one last thing. It's a little bit darker than the rest. I might grab a little black into that. And just hit this space here. So you just want something that's of a different value, light and dark, to the helmet behind it, because that's going to be the lighter space. All right. We're just getting those little pieces in here and there. Talk about that shading right there. I'm putting a darker value there. I'm probably going to have to go much darker on that value there. It's pretty good blocking. The last one that I've got to block is that little space there, and then we'll get into the bright to get a little detail oriented. I do want to get the spacesuit like really kind of painted in before I do this. So what you'll see here is that I've got my basic form and shape blocked in. It's not too neat. It's not too tidy. I just kind of want to go, okay, this is dark. This is light. This is going to be closer to white on the grayscale. This is going to be closer. And there's a bit of a monochromatic feel whenever you're painting space, especially like when you're talking like astronauts, because, you know, with the exception of the patches, they don't have like a lot of bright colors, and unless there was something crazy reflecting on the helmet, you really only have these ranges, and then whatever value cast these lights are, it's going to kind of color everything here. And unless there's a nebula back here, not a lot going to be going on back there. But this is a cat in space, so you know.
Yeah.
If you want to put balloons back there or whatever, it's okay.
That cat, I know it's an astronaut cat.
He's very serious.
That's a very serious cat.
It's a very serious cat. Cat's not joking.
I was struggling to not pick on the cat and say, "You're a serious cat, dude. Lighten up, you're in space." But
like, this cat is so serious.
Cats have a thing, man.
The cat has a thing. I'm gonna get a. Oh wait, I don't want a Grand Prix. I want a Cambridge. So I'm gonna get a number 4 Cambridge. Right here, it's number 4 Cambridge. This has a kind of a very scruffy, rough texture aspect to it. And I'm going to begin really working my values. So up here, very roughly, I'm going to be lightening some of this. I do allow some of what's underneath to show through. And as I'm working this, guys, if it's okay, I'm thinking what I want is a tighter brush. So see how these bristles are all flaring out? This is wonderful for dry brushing, and dry brushing is awesome. But I also, in this piece, really want a tighter line. So I'm going to rinse this little fellow out. And I'm going to grab a bright in that size that I don't have. All right, I'll grab this. Yep, 4. So this is an ArtSherpa number 4, and it's got a very sharp edge. You can see that. So we're going to work that here. I just dipped in water. And I'm going to go ahead and get some white onto my brush. Make sure it's worked in both sides. And what you're going to see here is I can get a nice sharp edge, see? Pull it, see, Bugsy? And then pull it forward easily.
Well, you are showing people. It's not, you're not, you know.
I know, I just sound like Bugsy Malone when I do that. And I'm going to come here.
I don't think you're very Bugsy.
I'm going to go ahead and have those sharper edges to contend with. And then the top of this can be highlighted white. I'm going to come down here. And then let's get a little of our black in here. Just a lot of value studies, right? I'm going to come in, and it's going to be my very light space. And then it gets quite dark as I go down. So you guys can see this. I'll just do a nice little blend here. Back and forth, blending those two spaces together. And then if you go right into your black, you can come around on the inside edge. See what I'm doing? Just a nice sharp brush gets you pretty far.
You were kind of leaning over there.
All right.
No, you're fine now. You just, when you did that first line, you tilted just a little to the left, which is just normally you're just fine. It was just that one time you leaned over.
I'm going to get some of my just background black paint, and I'm going to come right here and make sure that these edges are crisp and clean. I don't want to take out my stars. I just want to make sure that these forms are...
If you find that you do take out some of the stars.
Just put them back with your dotting tool.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Dot away.
Just dot them up.
And the yellow can be removed with white,
just a clean brush. The yellow comes off
water.
like this. I've got a brush here that's clean, and I've got some clean water. And you just get it off like that. See how it comes off?
No, because every time I get that, there it goes. I kept aiming the camera in the wrong place.
And if the water is clean, when it dries, it will be the same black as the background. You won't have lost the background at all. As you can see, it's pretty easy to get rid of. So that's why I like this. Some of them have like oil or wax in them, so they're really not for painting. They're like more for fabric or other processes. And that'll ruin your painting because acrylic paint doesn't really stick over wax or oil. And when I say doesn't really, I mean doesn't.
It does not.
It does not. All right.
Very, very like Serious Cat. Does not.
Does not. Doesn't do that thing. I'm going to come right here and I'm going to come on the inside. I need, you know, again, it's not pure white. It's an off-white. That way the white coming around it can show up better. So I'm
saving the white for the
highlights. Highlights, you know, just pulling this here. Nice crisp brush, getting me through. I can come into this space. See, I'm getting adding some black to it, and I'm going to come back and again, add some value. I expect, and I could be wrong, I just wiped off, that what will happen is, I'm going to get some just white loaded on both sides of my brush, is that there are certain elements, probably like with cars, that demonstrate that something is a spacesuit. Certain lines, certain things that will. I'm going to pull that line forward. And I'm going to get a pretty dark gray, maybe a little blue into it. And then there's this sort of, there, we're going to bring that back. That dark value. Kind of coming in at an angle, isn't it? I'm going to come over here, John, do a similar thing.
All right. Which brush is that?
This is my number 4 bright. It's number 4 bright. You just want a bright that's going to give you, I'm going to come here and work this edge here. You just want a bright that's going to give you a clean edge. It's an important thing. Now I'm going to get some black. And I'm going to come on the inside here. Make sure that I've got that nice crisp line for the shadow. And even come across here just to make sure that this is, you know, got that edge to it.
I would like to give an art high five to Teenersaurus Rex, who's done like 10 of your paintings.
Teenersaurus Rex has done 10 paintings?
Congratulations, that's awesome.
That is really awesome. I'm taking a little black here and I'm creating a little shadow that comes up along this ridge, along the helmet line. And you can see how the brush is just helping me work here. Sometimes the brush just helps you work.
How does it do that?
Because you don't have to make less personal adjustments to get the effect that you want. You can pretty much paint with a toothpick or your fingers, but that type of painting does require you to make a lot of adjustments.
So it works with the effect you're trying to produce.
Yeah.
It works towards the effect you're trying
to produce. Yeah, instead of against it. So our tools are working towards our goals. I'm just wiping off my brush. I'm going to load a little more.
So if all you had was a broomstick, pointillism may not be your gig.
I mean, it might, but...
That'd be a big painting.
That would be, you'd be a very determined little artist.
Be some Whitland.
There would be some working at it, I'm sure. I'm just gonna crisp this up and make sure that this front line looks mechanical, which means generally mechanical things don't have that artisanal handmade look to them. They're very machined and structured. So when you're doing any of those elements in a painting, even if you're being painterly, you still have to take into account that that's a foot. If that makes sense. Now I'm going to come right here. And I'm going to just add a soft little line right there. It's this little wheel. Because there was a wheel.
Hingy thing.
A hingy thing, man. It's a hingy thing. I'm going to come right here. Got another little hingy thing. It's like a little round area.
I think it's where the mystical, magical microphone thing goes.
Sure. I don't know any of the parts of this. So one of the problems I'm going to have as an artist painting this is that I'm very unfamiliar with spacesuits.
You know, we got Space Cat. Space Cat's got whatever Space Cat wants. We're not going to question Space Cat space gear.
So I'm going to just make sure that I blend these two. You can see I'm just blending them together. And let's get another lighter value onto the brush and come right here. And just say, all right, let's have another little lighter value. And you can even add one right there. Again, I'm going to come back with a black line just to make sure that this looks clean and mechanical. Always good to have things look clean and mechanical.
Well, when you want them to, for sure.
When you want them to, for sure. Which is right now. This is that time, right now. Clean mechanical time right now. I'm getting a little more blue onto this.
For some reason, my camera is feeling more punchy than usual today.
Is it? Or are you more punchy than usual today?
It's very aggressively going, woo, 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 running around on me. So I'm
trying to keep it controlled.
I feel like it's
not give everybody like a sick stomach.
Yeah, it's like I gotta slow you down a little bit there, buddy. You're got ants in your robotic pants.
Ants in your pants. Watch out, those Zillily people will make you look at a picture of a dog, and we're not having that today because it's cat day.
What?
That ad bugs me so much.
Mean.
I just feel like they pick on her.
I have no reference.
That's because you sleep when I watch TV. Who knows what I'm talking about? The Zulily ad where the lady's like, it's just an expression like ants on your pants. And they're like, this got so dark. I'm like, it's not that dark. She just said ants in your pants.
Oh, I think I have vague reference memory of there's some hazy late night memory of that.
I'm going to add another little. See, I'm just using the width of the brush to create this. Let's pull that up and let's get another little highlight with our white. I just want a bit of a highlight on here. That's nice. I'm going to add just a little bit right there. Come down and be like, hey, yo. Just doing that nice, like, kind of lighter int line. So we're getting there. We're starting to get astronaut-y. Isn't that crazy how that comes in?
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to need to get a little bit of my black here, and I'm going to come in clean this neck up. Stitching on that neck. Get a little blue into this and smooth that transition right here. So it's a bit in shadow, but just a little bit. I think we're doing pretty darn good. I want just a little bit more white at the top. I'm going to have to put out some more white. I'll come right here. I'm not going to do the back shadowing that's on the image. I think it will actually not translate well.
Are you using pure white there?
I'm using pure white.
That's why it's so bright.
I'm going to make a little line. I guess these are little receptors. I don't know how important they are to the...
I think they're glints of something. Or
Are
maybe it's
they?
from his backpack. Let's praise from his backpack.
I don't like it. I'm taking it out.
Yeah?
I'm going to let that dry. I know they're there, but I don't like them. I don't like
You're going to erase them?
Yeah. I'm going to erase them if you guys don't mind. So to erase it, I'm going to
Erase.
dry it.
Muty mute while she does that. We'll go. And the reason she does that is it's easier for her to paint over or fix something once it's dry. Acrylic is all about layers. So while she's doing that, we will say hi.
Hey. I think I need a coffee heat up.
You do?
I do. I think I need to sip some coffee. Honey? Can I have my coffee heated? It's the whole reason why she's
get
like
on that
in homeschool
bandwagon.
right there is coffee heating. That's not true.
If there's going to be warmed up coffee, I would like it too.
So, what my thinking is here is, and this happens in photographs, and this is probably, I will say it to you guys in the Big Art Quest again next year, but the number one thing that throws us artists off when we're painting from a photographic reference is we'll paint everything in the reference. And there's all kinds of things that will look fine in a photograph and look completely bizarre in a painting. Now, I had already edited out the black shading. I didn't really feel like that was going to work in this graphic, but I was clearly confused about what these lines were. And as I put them in, I realized that's just going to confuse whoever views it about what those lines are. And so therefore, I'm going to edit them out of the painting. Whenever you're working from a photograph, you really have to evaluate what you can leave out or what you should leave out because it's just weird or awkward and it's not really going to translate into the nature of painting. And also what you absolutely have to keep. I'm going to put out some paint. If that makes sense.
It does.
You know, I don't know why I'm putting out white. Because I'm not going to put any more white on there. I'm going to put black, but I just want it up. So I'm going to grab some of my black while I'm waiting for my coffee to come back.
While you're waiting for the back, Heather volunteered one of the best names for our little cat here. She suggested that her name is Buzz Meowdrin.
You are teenage daughter approved. It's in. Buzz Meowdrin it is, Heather. You shall forever be known as Buzz Meowdrin. If you ever come back and do other space cat things, it will only ever be you, Buzz. We love you forever. We are nothing if not loyal and in this channel to our weird channel mascots that get painted into paintings all the time. We got Wilson the Chicken and Kevin the Kraken and Judgy Rooster, Sassy Rooster. We got some gnomes.
Judgy Rooster is still some of my favorite. And the Happy Cow.
Happy cow. So happy this cow.
That cow went plaid.
Cow went plaid. That cow had a lot going on. I'm going to get back into my bristle brush. And you're like, wait, what? But this part, I need to talk about wrinkles and things. And so now it's going to help me instead of work against me.
You get it wrinkly?
I got to get some wrinkles going. So I'm going to take my blue and a smidge of my black. Right? A smidge. And more smidge. Got all over my brush. Because you know what happened? I was mixing and looking away. I'll tell you stuff.
I will mix something, but not watch it. I wonder if I could do that and switch cameras.
Like, don't think you should. So I'm going to make a very kind of little rough line here.
That's the test of marriage.
And I'm going to talk about the wrinkles that we're seeing in this little backpack here. Just a bit. Coming down and bringing one in and just trying to show some. Let's bring one out here. I'm going to come over to this side while I've got the paint. There's some of that.
I realized this cat is not serious. It has catitude.
It's catitude?
That's all it is. It's a space cat with catitude.
Well, I mean, if you were a space cat, wouldn't you have catitude?
I think that's what made me realize that the cat wasn't serious. It just had catitude. Because if I was a space cat, I would have catitude.
So, I'm going to get a blue that's lighter than what I initially painted. And I'm going to very lightly... Can you see I'm dry brushing this?
Yeah, he's coming on that a little bit.
Let's talk about some of that. Not everything. And I definitely want this to feel wrinkled to the outside.
Your brush is very
scruffy.
It is not.
Look at that, like, jacked up brush, dude. It's like, I love it. It's like as it should be finally.
I would not expect that to be the brush that you would, that's what.
One of my favorite brushes.
And that's how all of them kind of look.
Well, I mean,
You really scruff.
I could probably reshape it. It's got a little hair that's gone.
Well, no, but I mean, like, you scruffle the heck out of them.
I do.
You get after those brushes.
So you can see that this is starting to take on this sort of, and I'm just softly, and you can see how I'm blending it by doing this light dry brushing. See how that creates another transition?
Yeah.
It's a bit like shading with a pencil. And how I get this is my paint is dry and my pressure is light and my brush is scruffy, and I just very lightly go over the canvas so it's only catching the bump surfaces. See how that side looks? Oh, it's so bumbly. That's what we want. We feel like we want at this moment. You know, I'm going to come right here and I'm going to bring this in a little bit. And I will definitely also do the kind of shading that we do. And I'm not trying to be too technical. I'm trying to be painterly here. And the reason is that we have to go home someday. Well, I am home. But it's because sometimes when you leave something to the viewer's imagination, I'm just creating a lighter tone for just a couple pops of highlights that we see on this backpack here that we're going to talk about a few places. You know, because the light might catch some stuff, right?
It's really cool how you're catching all that.
Just going to catch a bit of light. Not too much. That might be too much. So I'm going to take this off. Just notice I wipe it off with a towel. And look, come by softly. You just come by softly. A little more white. Maybe a couple of wrinkles there. That's pretty good. We're doing pretty good. How's our backpack? Oh, very backpacky.
Very backpacky.
Very backpacky. Patches. Am I going to do the patches? Yes, I am. But I am going to do this differently. I am going to have a patch over here. But because we're a global community, even though I super duper absolutely totally love my own country, and I hope you love your own country too, I'm going to give him a personalized patch. You can put any patch on here, and I'm doing this to create an example to remind you that no matter where you live, no matter what's going on, and we're doing paintings, you can always make a painting that we've got reflects your world and totally customize it anytime. Does that make sense?
The International Cat Space Team.
That is actually, I'm going to put a paw here.
It's the animal space team, because there could be space bears.
They're sea bears.
That's true.
There's sea bears.
There's water bears.
Was it water bear? No, that's a tardigrade. I mean, sea bears from like SpongeBob.
Oh, I don't know. My SpongeBob lore is less than. I've not been keeping up on it recently.
I'm gonna also do one over here, I think, as well. I think this will be maybe fish bones.
Oh, let me go there.
So it'll be fish bones, I think. I'm going to wipe the extra paint off my brush, and I'm going to use this wiggling method, this sort of blending method. See how it glazes it out? To start to talk about this particular patch. So it's like the other, but it's a little bit different. And then I'll come back with some sharp brushes, and I'll have little bones, fish bones here, and a little paw showing here maybe. That's very catitude. And I'm going to go ahead and load this up. I'm going to just dry brush this. Kind of like right here, and maybe like here, see how I wiggle it softly and just create these little fabric highlights. It's quite bright here. I'm just going to wiggle back and forth, softly painting that over. And then you can see I'm kind of curving this. I'm gonna sneeze.
Oh, let me know, and I'll mute you.
Yeah, you're gonna. I think it's gonna come out of the blue though. Like it just went away.
Okay.
And of course, what it's gonna probably do is just come back completely randomly without warning.
You'll just have to give me the and then I'll hit the mute, and then you can do.
I don't sneeze cute. It's a whole mess.
You do sneeze cute. You try to hold it in. I wish try to hold it in like one of those cartoon characters whose head's gonna explode.
I sneeze like a Persian cat.
You know what? I've never seen a Persian cat sneeze.
Everyone in the audience who has Persian cats is like, oh yeah, that sneeze. Yeah, I sneeze just like a Persian cat. Persian cat, one, they have no nose, so like when they sneeze, it's like a big deal.
It seems like it's just two, you know, two paintball guns pointed forward.
Well, there's a lot of head backing up, right? And their eyes water and their whole body takes on the sneeze, and then they try to hold it in, and then it comes out, but it just explodes everywhere, all in their life. Persian cat owners just fell down. It's so true.
And this is why they don't let Persians in the space team, because they don't make inside windshield wipers.
They really don't, and it's probably also why Persians are often cast as the villains in little space movies. All right, so we're doing really good here. I'm gonna go ahead and I think come right here. Across with this. You thought I was going to do white bones, but I'm not. Throw you off. Now, one last little highlight in this space where we're going to come very bright, because we want some of this to feel like the spacesuit has some very like bright lights. There's some bright lights in space, like straight up, guys. And things get lit up. For it being dark and all, there's a lot. Let's come here. I made that like kind of soft gray. I just took a little bit of my black and my blue, and I'm trying to make it a mid-range gray, so it's not the lightest gray we've made today, but it's not the darkest one. That's looking pretty good. I'm going to get this little brush. This is my number 4 bright again, and I'm grabbing this for a sharp edge. So you grab whatever brush you have that's going to give you sharp edge. I'm just making sure that the neck has a deep shadow that's kind of clean, and that these patches have one as well. Maybe I'll bring a second one in here for this one to talk about stitching. But not this one.
Ooh, it's so nice.
So there we go. We've got that going, right? Now I've got these lights here to contend with, and they're super, super important, but I need to actually put most of them in kind of last because I have to put all that reflection over there. But while I'm waiting to do that, I'm going to get a round brush, number 4 round. I'm going to get a little bit of my black and blue together, mixing them together on this brush. And I'm going to come right here. Ooh, I'm going to put my glasses on so I can see things. Oh, so helpful. I'm just going to paint a little circle best I can in there. Dip in my water if my paint isn't flowing off my brush. And come over and try to do almost the same size on this size. And I say almost because I tend to be a little asymmetrical on stuff that I do. So looking pretty good. Yo. Yo.
Yo.
And then we can have a smaller one right here. We'll go ahead and paint in. Let's put a smaller one in. So you can see the smaller one is a little bit in shadow. I'm going to rinse out. And while I'm here, I'm going to take advantage of my little fluid paint that's still out. And I'm going to dip it on the tip of my brush. Now, this particular brush has a really fine tip, so That is definitely going to help me. And this little line is going to be there before I even put out my flare or any of that. It needs to be on at this stage of the painting, or I won't easily be able to get it in later. Just getting a little bit of that. And then don't forget that down here at the bottom, these two sort of have that highlight, which will make sense once the flare is on. Doesn't really make sense now. Will make tons of sense once we turn that light on. But now you can kind of see that they have that metallic feel. All right, everything that follows is the best, funnest part. Ooh, but I gotta sip my coffee.
Sip away.
So I'm gonna paint my cat in. That's the part I look forward to the most. I love his furry face. I love everything about him. I have a lot of videos on fur. I have a lot of videos on cat's eyes. I have a lot of videos on all of this, which if you have any questions, moderators can share any of those with you. And I do that because I recognize that maybe you need to put a particular cat in. Are you okay? Oh, you're stretching.
Oh, stretching. Yep. I would add, I'm doing a cat stretch. That one
No.
leg out, no stretch. Ooh. No. If you are interested in any of the videos that the Sherpa speaks of, and you go to the link in the description down below to our website, there'll be a video button. You click on it, and then in the search tab, put anything you want, from hair to fur, curly, blonde, red hair, ebony, anything you want, it'll turn up. It'll help you with skin tones, colors, styles,
True.
shades, anything you need.
Any of it.
It's over 750 videos. There's a lot of stuff.
There's a lot. So much.
So much.
Okay, I'm getting little different things. Now I'm going to put out some paint. So the fur, I'm going to be doing mostly in a basis of, let's see where our space is.
Adjust it if you want.
So I'm going to put some brown there. It's close to my black. And I'm going to put some yellow ochre out.
You need more room?
I think I'm okay. I'm going to... I'm going to get a little alizarin crimson because I think it's going to help me. I have a belief about it. And I'll put out a little of my cad red. So everything's sort of out, so I can get going. And I'm going to start blocking him in, much like I blocked in everything else. And I'm going to start with this brush. Nope, I'm going to start with a bigger brush. Look at me, not know what I'm doing. There we go. I'm going to get back into that number 4 right here, just because I want to get a lot painted in, and I want it to be sort of like rough and, you know, clearly part of fur. So I'm going to make my darkest brown value here, which is my black and my burnt sienna. And I'm going to come under here. And I'm going to just very softly talk about that there's cat. Don't want any white into it. Wiping off. There's cat that is, see I'm scuffling this back and forth, creating that little dry brush blend. Get a little bit more black into it, and then you can come back and be like, no, no, no. Just shade it out. Shade it out. And a little bit under what will be the chin. Let's go ahead and shade this out. So see how I've left from this part to here at least a finger. That's because we got to leave room to paint the chinny chin chin. And I'm adding this little dark shading value because this subtle bit here is going to make a big difference. Getting back in black and blue again. We're shading this. All right, looking good. Now, again, a little black, a little brown. This is the deepest value that I'm going to be contending with in this range. A little more black. This is going to come right up to here. We're going to just see how I'm like going back and forth and it's like a radial.
Yeah.
I'm talking about his little furs. You have to have this at a tone or value. I'm wiping this off my brush. That's close to the blackout point at the helmet. Otherwise, his head's going to get to be a very strange size. So it's important that you get these difficult to see tones down if you can. Not like, you know, freak out important, but definitely something to work towards. What I'm trying to do is get a very good soft transition from the outer space to where he's lit on the inside. All right, so let's come here, a little more black, a little more brown. So we're taking him out of that blue-black range and we're into cat ranges. Now, I'm going to get into my yellow ochre, but I still have my brown. Can you guys see that? My brown and my black in it.
Yep.
A little bit of that into my yellow ochre. And I'm going to come here, and I'm going to very softly, following the pattern that he has, brush this out. See how I'm making short strokes? I'm right here. And I'm just trying to follow the fur line. Pay attention to the implied line. Do you see how each fur kind of like points an arrow to a direction? So like these go down like this comes out like this, these go up here. We're going to have to really pay attention to those lines, those implied lines. Implied lines. Very best lines.
I don't know. I like parallel lines.
Just working this out here.
Perpendicular lines have their plus too.
Sure. Okay, that line went a little bit out too far. I'll have to contend with that in a second. That's okay though. And then this here will be much lighter. I'm going to get a little bit of white here. A little bit more yellow ochre. There we go. And then we can go over the top of his eye. There we go.
Has fierce eyes.
He's fierce. He's fierce. He's a thunder cat. Well, actually he is, because those were spacefaring cats too. Only spacefaring cat race I know.
This is the honoriest of the space cats.
He definitely has some opinions we've got to contend with.
This cat wears boots.
Yeah, this is definitely a cat that wears boots. So my pressure here is real light when I'm trying to, you know, even imply these little tabby marks. I'm going to get a little white on my brush. Come under here. Maybe even right there. In the center here. Let's get a highlight in the center. I'm going to add a lot more white to my brush. I'm going to highlight the center here. Because there's this really fun little light bit of fur. You know. And then we're going to get right back into this. This needs a little more yellow into it. A little more white. We're just coming right here and just brushing that space out.
This cat, this cat has a much more wizened, much wiser face.
Well, the contrast elements of him so far are a little bit more extreme, so we're going to be definitely dealing with that. Back here with this. Bring this to the corner of this eye. You know, we haven't hit the reflections on the glass, so it'll be really interesting when his eyes come in and the reflections of the glass are there.
This cat has far less catitude, far more. Do you realize how many things can go wrong in space?
Everything can go wrong in space. I have a friend who's we have a friend who's in well, he's trained to be an astronaut. He's actually not going to go into space. He's a doctor, and he's a writer of space-based fiction.
He's in the astronaut program.
Yeah, and well, and he studies. I'm bringing this, you know, outline to here to sort of shape out the face. Make sure I've got a shape face, and it's just a great time to take that moment to go. Am I happy with the shape of the face?
It's a very happy face. Well, I don't know if Buzz here is happy with the face. But, I mean, I like Buzz's face.
I'm gonna just continue to make sure that these shadows, right, are here because this has this little glass space, right? Like I'm just rounding that out. But I haven't lost the brown. I'm just making sure that I've got that happening. So that's pretty good so far. It's okay. Now I'm going to get a little of my black and my yellow. And he's got a little bit of a dark mark there. Maybe even darker than that. I think I came too close. So I'm just trying to talk about his little markings.
Everyone is really loving this, by the way. They think it's super cute. Very, very happy with all of this.
I'm so glad. It's fun to paint. You know, just finding that space. Let's get back into that brown maybe. There we go. I'm going to get back into my brown.
The cat is now approaching the unnerving space for me. See, I'm not a cat person, so those yellow eyes staring at me, saying, I know where your toes are.
He does know where your toes are. All cats know where your toes are.
That's what I'm afraid of.
No, they all know. They just do. If your toes are not getting got, it's because they don't feel like getting them.
And then they want to come sit on my chest and say, I know you're allergic to me, but I'm going to sit right here.
You're so allergic to them too. So I'm going to take a little bit of my alizarin crimson and my yellow ochre. And come under here. A little more alizarin, I think. We just want that hint of the pink, right? The hint of the pink. And a little bit of this yellow, smidge of black, and white. Just pulling this in. Just trying to catch this little bit of fur in the front. And again, we're just doing some value blocking. This is not like even necessarily our fur finale. I'm just trying to talk about a couple of fur things that we got going on here. Yeah, so we're gonna get right here. And then if you need another little highlight, you come right there. How we're doing? How are we finding our kitties?
I think this kitty is amazing.
Fun to do. Now, we're going to get into our bright for a little bit, and that's because we're going to want to paint our nose, which we're going to do a little bit with the alizarin crimson, yellow ochre, and brown, so that there's a bit of this red tone to it. It'll be taken into the black space in a little bit, but we've got to kind of just get it in there. I'll come back with my black. I got to put my glasses on. What am I trying to do? I'm going to end up with a bunny before I know it.
Well, I don't know how you would turn a cat into a bunny in the first place. So that just seems like crazy talking. Like,
it may, but it
you
could
do
happen.
that?
Need to erase these yellow lines so they stop making any impact on what I'm doing. I'm going to go ahead and get my black on this brush. And I'm going to take a minute and I'm going to come under here. Oh my gosh, I've splattered my glasses again, John. So like I'm looking through splashes.
Oh, I know. It's humorous.
It really isn't what I'm trying to see. Super
challenging.
challenging.
For you again.
It's so challenging though.
If you need to break, I can come over there and clean it.
I don't know.
It's not like anyone's going to go anywhere if I clean your brushes. I mean, your glasses.
They might. They might be like, oh my gosh.
I reject
you're going to
your
need to clean them. I can't even see. I'm going to take a little bit of my black.
Cinnamon's glasses.
And come up the middle of the nose. I'm going to definitely shade right here. These outer edges. But we're still letting a little bit of that, you know, kind of alizarin peek in, right? Let's make sure there's a bit of it at the top here. And I'm going to go ahead and get a little of my cad yellow and my cad red and my burnt sienna. This is going to seem like a lot at first, guys. But it'll be fantastic when we're done. And in this, like in a minute here, I'm going to let John come in.
Clean your glasses?
Yeah, because I just can't say anything. There's just splashes everywhere. You're going to laugh.
Oh, I'm sure.
All right. I will let oh wow, it's a hot mess.
Right here.
Yeah, there's alcohol. Honey. So, what we're going to do is we're going to come in and start putting, and now we've got some things blocked. We're going to take brushes and start putting in some individual hairs to talk about some of the hair and the whiskers. And after that, when we get the eyes blocked in, and then we'll hit the reflections and the lights as the very last thing. Because we've got to get all of him worked in and resolved, right? Like, you know, this may be the space for you where like, this is really good for me, but I know a lot of you guys have been asking about like taking these kinds of things a little bit further and showing you how to make the fur look more furry or how to look the eyes and look more eye and just get them a little bit further along. So I figured we would focus in here today because that's where the secret sauce of Mr. Catty Pants is. And also I like showing you how to do crazy things like this. So John is getting my glasses clean. They got a bunch of blue water splashed on the inside. Or maybe it's honey. Somebody's cleaning my glasses. I can't see without them. Did I get off there? I'm sure you did. Yes. I mean, I know it's hard to tell because there's always splatters on my glasses. Yeah, but I didn't know what was on there. So you just take that in. Can't see them at all through these. Oh, they're still really... I have like a lot of permanent paint on there is what it is. I have a lot of permanent paint, and that's what it is.
Okay.
All right. So that was my number 2. I'm going to get this number 1, if you can see, and we're going to do some work now. Thank you. I'm going to get a little bit of the black on here. I'm going to come to the base of this. And I'm going to make a nice little kind of restrained shadow there. I'm going to tap a little bit of that. And maybe catch a little of the inside kind of like, you know, cat nostril thing that's going on. I'm going to make sure that these eyes are clean. as I'm coming in and doing them. And I'm going to grab my mister here, and I'm going to mist my paint. But especially this sort of white with yellow ochre mix that I've got going. I could also use the fluid white. I'm just trying to improve the flow. What you see me doing is rolling and pulling out. That's too thick. And a little bit lighter. Not every hair. But what you do is if you talk about some of the hairs and the shapes of things. And then there's these values underneath that the eye picks up on. It will start to fill in a lot of that information for you. Can you guys see how that's helping me?
Oh, yeah. Which brush is that?
This is my #1 detail brush. You just want to get a good detail brush that doesn't mess with you. That's what you're trying to find is a good detail brush that won't mess you up.
A #1 small-handled, detailed, short.
Yeah. And sometimes I'll overload my brush, which will give me too thick of a line. I'll have to come back and just make sure that I'm adding those little fur details that are super important to this piece before you ever get these reflections on there. Fluid paint, little yellow ochre. We're just adding a couple of these little details. You want a thin, fine line. Are you guys getting good thin, fine lines?
That's a practice thing, isn't it?
It really is. It's a practice thing. Remember, it's a little bit of black, a little yellow ochre, and a lot of white to get this fur color. It's a big time practice thing. And again, I'll have to keep going back and sometimes like offloading and getting less paint. I mean, so that I can get the fine hairline that I'm trying to get. I'm really trying to look at these points and these spaces as really important in the composition. I'm going to come line there and then you'll find that you have an easier directionality for some techniques or strokes than others. You know, go ahead and move so you're always working to your strengths. You know, you can also go back with a little bit of the black and the brown. Get a little bit of water here. You just want to make it fluid. And you can come in places like this. Just make sure that there's a little bit of this here as well. As you go back into the areas where it would be dark, you just want to open up that stroke a bit, letting more of the dark show through. And again, it doesn't have to be every hair, it's just some of the hair. That's looking pretty good. Getting pretty happy with that.
Yeah, me too.
Now, I'm going to get a little bit of this white. Still going to tone it with a little yellow ochre. Don't want it to be bright white. It'll be too white if it is. And I do want some moisture into it because it needs to really flow off, almost at the consistency of ink. And I'm going to try to show you guys some whiskers, if that's okay. So I'm going to take this here, and I turn it to this side because this is the side in which I have a stronger stroke. Trick with the whiskers is some of them will be lighter and thinner and push back, and some will be stronger. You see, I'm just using almost like a light see-through stroke.
Yeah.
Some of them are more defined. Get a little bit more loaded up here. And again, it's not the pure white. The finer lines come from the fluidity of the paint, the point of the brush, and the pressure with which you're applying the brush. Now I've applied a little bit of whisker, I think.
Yeah.
In that little space there. I'm going to clean up this yellow. I'm going to make sure that there's a little bit of a cleaner dark line under here. He's looking good.
I think so.
I'm going to get back into my there it is. I'm going to come back into this brush. I'm going to take my brown, a little bit of my black. I'm going to start shading out this eye. I have a lot of videos on eyes.
Yeah, you do. You can find those the same way you did earlier, by going to the website. Like,
You've got a mission today.
Well, in the videos, and then search. Well, there's a lot of videos out there.
There really are.
And you can find a lot of that stuff out there.
So what I'm doing here is I'm making sure that this sort of shading of the ocular area is handled. I painted out a little bit of my black lining, and I'll come put it back in if I can with this. Now, interestingly enough, I'm going to take my black and my blue and a smidge of white. Smidge of white. And I'm going to start making the pupil. And what you really want to be thinking about on the pupil of an animal, the pupil of a person, is that only some of it is a deep black in general. Something you might not know.
Right.
I'm trying to make them fairly focused. It's really easy to get these guys cross-eyed.
Get one eye wandering around.
Yeah, if that happens to you, just don't feel alone. It's happened to all of us. It's happened to me. We all go through it. Just some artists like
that. It kind of wanders around. Sometimes
it does.
Trying to get a photo, trying to be still. One eye decides, no, I'm gonna look over there. Man, stop that.
I'm gonna get a little of my water that's out here, and I'm gonna get my darker brown. And I can go ahead and put my glazing medium out now. Glazing medium always helps with the work that we've got to do on eyes. Not just the blending, but just the shading, because there's shadows. There's a lot that's happening that you've got to get in there if you want them to feel like really authentic. This is my number 2 Filbert from my detail line. But any detail brush that's going to give you a comfortability working in this space, you're going to want to definitely use. Get into my black. I'm rounding that edge there. Now I'm going to take some black, I'm going to come right here to the inside of this eye. Outside of this pupil. Make sure my shape is good, but I just want to show some of that gray reflection that's in there. Now, yeah. The reflections on these eyes are a little different than how they would be in natural light because the reflection is not from a natural light source. It's from these little bulbs. And the photographer that did this was a smart cookie. Very skilled. Because he didn't make a mistake with the light source. If you know what I mean. I'm going to get a little of my cad yellow, cad red, making that bright cad orange. And some of my burnt sienna. I'm going to start working out the wonderful color that goes in the eye. Let's just come here and just pull this out. Have fun. Come over here. It's a little darker. I'm going to get a little more brown into it. But I'll make sure I get some of the color that I have over here, over there. You know, as I come to the side, it could be a little darker, just in general. And it's a little darker just in general right here. That inside corner. But you can kind of see that beautiful glow that you'd want. Gonna make the pupils okay. Trying to smooth that out. Now on the inside dark area, I'm going to take a little bit of the black and brown. Because this space is actually pretty interesting.
I have to say, when the cat does have one of those eyes that's kind of looking off to the side, they're much less fearsome.
Is his eye all looking off to the side?
No, just
I'm up on it, so I can't see it.
One of the things I was just remembering, I was like, they tend to look super cute when they're like, oh yeah, you're just definitely spaced out cat, not space cat.
I'm going to just definitely make sure I've got a little bit of hair coming from the little tear duct down. A little bit coming here. Making sure that's a nice little transition. Yeah, that's nice. He's got a he's got a good basis of an eye. It's pretty good right now. And come right here. Just add a bit of a light in that. Looking good. Now, these lights. Oof. What a thing. What a thing, what a thing, what a thing. I mean, the inside of these are totally white. That's a deal. And I think the easiest way to do that is just get some white paint. And we're going to start this out. We're going to put a little bit of the white in the center here. Not all the way to the outside. We're just putting it in the center. And this part of it, we're going to go ahead and kind of
Let the sparkles out.
Yeah, we're going to try to radiate that out a bit. You don't want to go too far, and you want to let a lot of what's in there show through. You know what I'm doing?
Yes.
Cleaning that out. Now the blue is going to be what really makes it go, but we've got to get that in to make the blue go. So just trying to just lightly brush those out. That can be hard. So if this is like a challenging part of it for you, don't feel bad. That's not unreasonable that it would be challenging in any way. Tapping this out, just trying to make this a little bit of a halo. Good, good, good. I have a little rest. Got my blue here, got my, where I put my glazing medium? They're right there. So I'm going to take, oh gosh, I need a clean brush. I want to have no pigment in this next brush. So either wash your brushes or I think I'll do a scruffy brush just because I know this is super clean. So it doesn't have to be scruffy. It could be any bright. You just want something that is also for, this is the same size as the other one. It just would be then clean. I'm going to go ahead and add a bunch of glaze to the brush. And then a titch of blue. I'm going to come here. I'm going to be super brave for you. I'm going to start adding this blue.
Oh, is blue reflection.
Yep, to the cat. Get a little more of the blue on the other side. So right now it's just a blue glaze that's sort of transparently here. And I'm trying to spread that blue out as it might be. But now I'm going to get just a titch of the white. Shading that in. It's such a subtle transition, and you guys do need a subtle transition. Across here, I am going to take this moment and just make sure that I'm talking a little bit about that cross light that is happening. A little bit of this white over here, maybe the fluid. I just need a little on the brush. I'm going to take this while I've got it loaded up. And we're going to start. I need it more blue, more glaze. The thing is I've got to create these just glowing glaze effects. You guys can understand what I'm saying. So the transparency
of them
is going to be a big, big deal. To get this look where it looks like it's on in the paint, like how it is in the photograph, if we want that in our painting.
Space cat must look spacey.
Space cat must look spacey. So back into that blue glaze. If I didn't have any glaze, I probably would try to dry brush this out. But I would really probably go try to buy glaze rather than do that. Like if I was in a desert island and I had no art store, I would try to dry brush this out. Slowly over the period of several days.
That's interesting how I have noticed that you have to use different techniques because you're limited on time than what people might be able to do at home.
Mm-hmm.
I've also, over
More
time, noticed
glaze.
that what what at first seems like an unintuitive approach to a problem oftentimes has very, very good reasoning. And
I try.
well, no, it always does, but it's like, why are you painting that what seems like out of order? And it's like, oh, you're preserving a color so that something that goes over the top or underneath looks a particular way.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't it's not always apparent unless you have experience layering the color and shapes and things together.
And I think it's important as art teachers, it's like that's what we're doing is we're just sharing that experience. I'm not trying to tell you that there's no other way to get this effect. There's probably a ton of ways to get this effect. All I'm suggesting is that this is a good way to do it
This is the one we put on our YouTube show
that we have up here right now.
that you get to do for free. There may be others, but it's not this one. That's the refraction lines
Mm-hmm.
that make everything look very shiny.
Shiny. Sorry. I think we just did that yesterday too.
That's underwater, not in space.
Really? You don't think these two could be friends? I feel like they could be friends.
Just, different environmental variables. Like cats don't like going underwater. Why they would go in space, I don't know. Guess there's less water there. And for anyone who's ever seen a cat jump, they know that they're not fond of not being on the ground and in gravity. So I would question this whole space cat scenario, but
You're questioning it. You're like, I disbelieve the space cat.
I think that there may be other animals more suited for the space travel endeavors, like pandas.
Oh, he's looking kind of cute now. So we're getting him there. We're starting to get him.
I think Twix could make a very good astronaut.
Oh, he's looking good. Is his little light looking good?
Very much so.
All right. Still trying to keep him going. So it's not, 2 brush strokes and done, like some things, which is fun. I certainly try to put a few of those out every week.
This is looking super cool, though. The different layers very much works out.
And, it's nice to do this stuff. You guys know I love to do space. I do a lot of them. Fun stuff to do. And just use any method that you're comfortable with, right? Like if you're comfortable with a particular method, use that method. I'm going to be brave here.
I really like these lines. They turned out really good. It was the right amount of highlight.
Was it?
Yes.
Okay, good. I'm like, where am I? I don't know. Help. Okay. I am just trying to find the value center. Everything. As we are talking about, like, what is a foot with Mr. Fuzzy Pants?
These flares and the highlights you're painting in are spectacular. They bring this really to the edge of things.
Does it?
Would using iridescence or glitters potentially take it over the top?
Zinc. I think zinc white would be a useful thing. I just wanted to limit the palette because, again, I knew a lot of people who maybe wouldn't normally do this project would want to take it on. And so I just wanted you guys to have I'm using my glazing medium to transparent this little mix. right here.
But if you felt so inclined, you could glitter and iridescent paint it up.
Yeah, I mean, you could absolutely, you get any of that Holbein, new product from Holbein, go for it.
Yes. That's some iridescent awesome sauce.
So I think that is where I want
really
to
cool.
take that. And then I have one last thing to do.
What's that?
I got to put a little reflection in his eye. So I'm going to get back into my, let me get my blue and my white that's over here. So just adding a little more blue to it, but there's a lot of white into this glaze. And I'm going to come here. Add that to that white space. And then I'm going to get just a little more white. And even though it's not in the photograph, I have enough experience, like with just these things, I know that if I take a little bit of my white, come to the inside of this, creating just a little of these little tear lines. It's just what that is that when eyes are wet, they tend to pick some reflection from around them. So you see how I've got that? And also, and just because it makes me crazy that it's not there, little wet nose.
See, this cat is a very cool cat. This is a very cool cat. We go over here and see. That's some spectacular brushwork in there, by the way. Really detailed. And so, yeah, it turned out really nice.
Thank you. All right.
Space cat.
All right, I'm gonna do a funny thing here.
What funny thing are you gonna do?
I'm gonna put my glasses on to do it. I think it would be funny to sign my name in like a little cluster of stars, but I don't know that that will work.
You can just dot it in there. It's dotting in. So subtle.
I don't know if it's working.
It is. It looks really cool. I can seize it from here. It's perfect. Just ever so focused on.
I am. I'm ever so focused on my star name. I don't know. My point of this is that we work really hard on our artwork, and our signature should be a considered portion of that painting. Thinking about how it impacts and might integrate. Okay, I'm going to do something super cheeky.
Super cheeky, the Sherpa says. Oh, that's super cheeky awesome.
Like it's a little comment.
So if you're at home and you want to put on your animal's patch of their whatever patch they want to have, they can have a space patch, they can have a national patch. But
let me hit that real quick. Is that okay? I do this a lot.
Totally
is that all right?
Up. Yeah.
All right. So for him, two things, right? I'm going to get a little bit of my yellow and some of this fluid white. I'm going to do my best to remember.
Oh. I have to get down there. Ooh. What you doing there, Sherpa?
I was thinking like fish bones.
Oh, yeah, fish bones.
Like a little fish bones?
The fishbone mission?
Could be.
That's the mission patch.
That's the mission patch.
So we're going with fishbone theme on this mission.
Fishbone theme. And then I think over here.
Maybe Buzz is on the skeleton crew. Ta-da. And that's Space Cat 1 team.
There. There, he has his patches. You patch however you want. You can do anything. You could write a name. You can just customize it. It's just sometimes looking paintings when you're doing it as a gift for spaces that you can customize it, make it personal for the person that you're giving it to. Be good to yourselves. Be good to each other. And I want to see you at the easel really soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.